Hey guys, hoping all is well with everybody. In this video, we're going to be continuing the read-along series of The Positive Dog. We're going to be starting with Chapter 7, and I will be showing you any pictures as they come across, alright? So please feel free to read along. Chapter 7, A Day of Gratitude. The first thing Matt did was to remember some of the important lessons Bubba shared with him. You can't be stressed and thankful at the same time. Gratitude is like a muscle. The more you do with it, the stronger it gets. And these are some of the memory bones that he recalled. Abundance flows into your life when gratitude flows out of your heart. Matt then walked over to the water bowl and gave thanks while he drank some water. Then he looked around and was thankful he had such a big yard to run and play in. He took off running and was thankful for legs to run and the grass to run on. He joined a few on the other young mutts and was thankful he had friends to play with. As the hours passed, he found more and more things to be thankful for. Bubba was right. The more grateful you are, the more that you get things to be grateful about. He noticed that at first it felt awkward to be grateful about such small things, but the more often he did it, the more natural it felt. He figured the awkwardness was the result of an underdeveloped gratitude muscle, which was now getting stronger. His biggest test came when a family visited the shelter to choose a dog to take home. They came by his kennel and commented on how cute he was, but he ended up choosing another dog. He was upset and angry, but remembered Bubba's advice and decided to be grateful for the fact that it was the first time people stayed at his cage and didn't call him mean. He did his best to smile and laugh instead of bark, and he was thankful that it made a difference. Instead of running away, they actually stayed and petted him for a little while. He was thankful that perhaps this meant he was on his way to getting adopted one day. He told all of these experiences to Bubba as they lay in their kennels that night, and Bubba just smiled, knowing that his little friend now had a big appetite for positivity. He was glad that Matt experienced firsthand that every positive dog knows that feeding the positive dog really does make a difference, and gratitude is the ultimate food for those who want to be more positive. Matt then paused for a moment and cleared his throat. Speaking of gratitude, Bubba, I want to tell you what success of the day was. Well, actually, it's the best thing that has ever happened to me, he said with a big smile on his face. What's that, little buddy? Asked Bubba. Meeting and spending time with you, Matt said before closing his eyes and falling asleep. And here's another thought bone. Chapter 8. Tell yourself positive stories. The rain poured down as Bubba and Matt walked around the yard the next morning. So how do you like the rain? Bubba asked. Oh, I love it, Matt said enthusiastically. I love getting all wet and then shaking the water off my body. I feel the same way. I also love how the rain cleanses everything. But you know, not everyone feels the way we do, Bubba said while pointing to another dog across the yard. See Nero over there? He hates the rain. Always yells and gets angry when it rains. Grumbles that he's all wet and sticky. It's interesting that two dogs can experience the same event and perceive it very differently, Matt said. Yep, said Bubba. One dog loves the rain, the other dog hates it. Their perspectives determine their thoughts, feelings, and ultimately how they act for the rest of the day. It's like that with everything in life. How we perceive people, events, and situations determines our reality. That's why I often say that we don't live our lives based on reality. Nope, we live our lives based on our perspective and our perception of reality. That's why it's so important to develop the positive perspective, isn't it? Said Matt, knowing he had experienced the impact of a positive perspective firsthand. When he laughed and smiled, he changed his perspective from negative to positive. When he practiced gratitude throughout the day, instead of complaining about everything, he saw the world through the eyes of gratitude, and it changed his reality. That's right, Bubba said. How you see the world defines your world. So if you want to live a positive life, you need to feed the positive dog with positive perspectives. And I'm convinced that these positive perspectives are influenced by the positive stories we tell ourselves. What kind of stories? Matt asked. Big stories and little stories, answered Bubba. First off, each one of us is telling ourselves a big story. a main story that defines our life. Like in the movies, we all have a central theme and a certain genre that defines our life. Some people and dogs define their lives with a negative story. For them, it's a drama or a horror story. For others, their lives are like a positive movie, such as a love story, adventure, or inspirational tale. It's important to identify the type of movie we are living because the story we tell ourselves defines our perspective and the lives we live. Matt thought for a moment and tried to identify the movie he was living. He realized that his movie had been a drama, but now it was more becoming an adventure. "Can we change our story?" asked Matt, hoping it was possible. "Of course you can," said Bubba. "The great news is that you can change your story anytime you want from a negative story to a positive story. If you are living a drama, then you can decide to change it to an adventure. If you are living a horror story, you can decide to change it to an inspirational tale. Think about it. In the horror story an inspirational tale, the main character gets knocked down. In the drama, the victim stays down. But in the inspirational tale, the victim becomes a hero, gets back up, and armed with optimism and belief in a positive future, takes the actions necessary to create it." It was such an important lesson that Matt wanted to be sure he'd remember, so he took a few mental notes. The story you tell yourself defines the life you live and the actions you take. It's important to tell yourself a positive story. It's not just big stories that create our perspective and define our life. We also define our life by all the little stories we tell ourselves every day, Bubba said. "What are little stories?" Matt asked. "Little stories are our beliefs and philosophies about life. You tell yourself many little stories throughout your life based on your belief system, attitude, and approach to life, and these stories feed you either negatively or positively and define how you think and act. For example, one dog tells himself that he'll never make it out of the shelter, while another dog believes that it will happen when the time is right. One story is filled with despair, and the other hope. Or, consider a dog that believes in overcoming adversity to pursue her dreams, while another dog believes in settling for what life gives her. Their stories and approach to life will define their perspectives, how they live, and the lives they create. Or, consider a dog that once complained all the time but then started telling himself little stories filled with gratitude. "Like me?" said Matt. "Just like you, Matty," said Bubba with a big smile on his face. "A few days of feeding the positive dog and you've already noticed a difference. Now imagine if you had more strategies to feed the positive dog with positive stories and perspectives. Imagine if you did this every day for the rest of your life. How much more positive would you be?" "A lot more," said Matt, who was excited to learn more. "You bet," said Bubba. "Your positivity would soar, and that's why I'm going to share some more with you. You don't have to feed yourself with negative stories and negative perspectives anymore. You can change from negative to positive as fast as I can say lassie. I have found that you can change your negative perspectives to positive perspectives by just changing or choosing a few different words. Yep, just by changing a few words, you can feed the positive dog instead of the negative dog." And here's a couple more thought bones. Chapter 9. Get to instead of have to. One of my favorite ways to change the story you tell yourself is to say get to instead of have to, said Bubba. "How does it work?" asked Matt. "It's a word swap," answered Bubba. "For example, humans say the words have to all the time. If you hear them talk, they say, 'I have to take the dog for a walk,' or 'I have to go to work,' or 'I have to pick up the kids.' Knowing what I know now after reading Jade's book, would tell them you don't have to do anything. You get to take me for a walk. You get to rub my belly, since I give you so much love while you do it. You get to go to a job while so many are unemployed. You get to pick up your children in your car because you should be thankful that you have children." "Wow, changing 2 words really makes a difference," said Matt. "Yep, changing just 2 words can change your mindset and approach. When you change have to get to, you change a complaining voice to an appreciative heart." "It's about gratitude, isn't it?" asked Matt. "A lot of feeding the positive dog is about gratitude," answered Bubba. And speaking of gratitude, here's another word swap that can turn stress into appreciation. And that's where we'll end this video at the end of chapter 9. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one where we continue with chapter 10. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.